you say you think kids should be in school, it's the Democratic Party, your party, that is blamed for that not happening during the pandemic.
Right, and it happened in Republican states and Democratic states, and all those leaders were doing the best they could with the science that was available. But there were some. Ezekiel Emanuel was a doctor who was advising Biden, was saying at the time, this is going to hurt kids. We should be really careful about closing schools. And I remember Zeke saying that. So but I don't want to bang on people who were trying to save lives when we lost 1 million people to that stinking virus.
What is up, everyone? In this one, Bill Maher is back, dismantling some absolutely absurd woke arguments. This clip is a goldmine, and he's calling out school closures, tearing apart the ridiculous obsession with neobabies, and even touching on the failures in modern policing. Whether you're here for the takedowns or the truth bombs, buckle up because this one is exciting. Let's get into it.
How much longer will the American public tolerate our involvement in Ukraine? Well, I think they're more than tolerating it. I think they're pretty much foursquare behind it, most people, aren't they?
Yeah, we're absolutely behind it. And we're going to tolerate it as long as we can feel that we're upholding the democratic values we established in the world for the rest of the world. I mean, we give up. I mean, did we give up in the Civil War? Did we give up in World War I, World War II? We put up with it. I mean, it's not like going to Burger King.
No, we gave up in Vietnam.
But well, there's that one.
No, we didn't give up, but we, you know, I mean, we kind of have slacked off as far as our war.
We're a country of good tolerance.
Right, all right. For the panel, does the fact that Sarah Huckabee Sanders is does the fact that, this is written badly, that Sarah Huckabee Sanders is a Nepo baby detract from her political accomplishments? I guess they were hearing me talk about the Huckabee dynasty, but yes.
Oh, here we go with the Nepo baby nonsense. Look, if having a famous parent automatically guaranteed success, then why are all celebrity kids thriving? Huckabee Sanders didn't coast into the governor's mansion on her dad's coattail. She campaigned, she won fair and square, and last time I checked, voters don't care about your family tree. They care about results. This obsession with tearing down people based on their lineage is just another distraction from real issues. Let me know if you guys agree down in the comments.
That's a big saying these days, Nepo baby. You know what that is? It's like they mostly refer to people in show business as Nepo. Anybody whose mother or father was a star and then you're a star, that makes you a Nepo baby. I could name many of them. They're very upset about being called that. I've noticed this phenomenon forever, as many people have out here, and it's fine if your parents were in show business. Just don't say, as I've heard some of them say, well, it wasn't any easier for me. Yes, it was. It was easier for you. Or the other thing they say a lot is, well, it just got me in the door. Well, that's a lot of it in show business, is getting in the door. Anybody can act. It's not that fucking hard. Oh. Sorry, I forgot.
When you're in politics.
Sorry, CNN. I forgot. We're not supposed to. Not on HBO. No.
When you're in politics, one of the things that you want generally is higher name ID. When a pollster like me goes out and we do a survey, we want to know how many people know what your name is at all. And if you have a dad or increasingly a mom that has been in politics before, it does make it easier for voters to just go, I liked her dad.
George Bush,
so, you know,
the second, that guy, when he ran, he went to the top of the polls. And I remember this story, I think in 1999. The people thought it was his father. That's what they were responding to. He had the same name, and they thought, oh, George Bush is running again. Right, he was a one-termer. He could do it.
And Franklin Roosevelt's cousin Teddy was president before him.
Sure.
John Quincy Adams' dad was president before. I mean, there is a tradition of that in America, but you still have to. I don't support Governor Sanders. I don't know her. I probably wouldn't even like her. But she earned that job, fair and square. She won the election. By the way, we didn't cheat. Nobody cheated. It wasn't rigged. She won the election fair and square, and she's entitled, I think, to the respect that a governor of a state should have.
I noticed that she made a big point of age. She said, Biden is 80 and I'm 40. By the way, I thought she was 60, but okay. I was shocked. No, I'm not 60, but I was shocked that she was only 40. I mean, Washington has a way of taking a toll on you. Let's just leave it at that. But, I mean, that was kind of a strange thing to brag about, I thought.
I don't think it's a strange thing to brag about, especially if your core argument going into 2024 is that Joe Biden is past his prime and we need to do something new. Now, this it depends upon, does the Republican Party not nominate someone who is also approaching 80? Wow. And so that's why some people
Don't say depends when you're talking about 80.
Something that I thought was very interesting about her response. is she talked a lot about a new generation of Republican leadership. And when she talked about her time working for the former president, she did not use the word Trump once.
Yes, and I understand he was pissed. Yeah. Okay. Public schools saw 1.2 million students depart during the pandemic, and many have turned to homeschooling. Are we in the midst of a public education crisis? Yeah, I saw that today in the paper also. A lot of the students who went away during the pandemic never came back. What do you make of that?
Yeah, school is good. Community education, communal education is good because you have to develop social skills. The hardest part about school is like recess and gym and all the times you have to interact with all those other little 10-year-olds. So I think it's really important for kids to be back in school.
I do too. But I mean...
Well, it can create a fiscal problem for a school too. So most schools, the way they get their funding is how many kids are enrolled. If all of a sudden your enrollment falls by 5 or 10%, your funding falls by 5 or 10%. So the fact that public schools, for so many parents, they said, I don't know if I trust this institution to educate my child anymore, it's also going to potentially make the schools worse or have to do more with less when that student funding is now gone.
And also, I mean, you say you think kids should be in school. It's the Democratic Party, your party, that is blamed for that not happening during the pandemic.
Right.
Maher goes for the jugular here, and he's spot on. Let's not sugarcoat this. The Democrats were the ones screaming, follow the science, while keeping schools locked down for way too long. The data was there, the warnings were there, but no, the teachers' union held the leash. What's hilarious is how the left now pretends this was some bipartisan disaster. No, it wasn't. Red states were reopening while blue states doubled down on closures. This is gaslighting 101.
And it happened in Republican states and Democratic states, and all those leaders were doing the best they could with the science that was available. But there were some. Ezekiel Emanuel, a doctor who was advising Biden, was saying at the time, this is going to hurt kids. We should be really careful about closing schools. And I remember Zeke saying that. So but I don't want to bang on people who were trying to save lives when we lost 1 million people that stinking virus. We're still losing 500-600 a day.
But it was clear much earlier on than many Democratic leaders in particular.
Well, the Republicans didn't put them back in school either.
They did a lot faster, and that's.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Republicans would say that it was the teachers' union, which is very strong and democratically controlled, that made sure that the schools did not reopen, and also that it's not the kids who were dying from it.
Right,
and that's the big shame, is that the kids who were getting hurt the most by it were the ones whose parents don't have the resources to say, well, the public school's bad, let me take them out and put them in a private school. Or, sure, I can homeschool them, I have the bandwidth to do that. It was poor kids, kids of color, they're the ones who have seen the biggest learning loss as a result of all of this.
Exactly. This is where the left's hypocrisy is on full display. They claim to champion the poor and minorities, yet their policies consistently hurt those groups the most. Wealthy families pulled their kids out of public schools and put them in private ones or fancy learning pods. Meanwhile, working class parents were stuck watching their kids fall further behind. It's infuriating, and now the left wants to act like this was unavoidable. Spare me.
Malcolm, if the cops who killed Tyree Nichols had been white, would we be seeing a different response?
You know, I'm afraid to say that we would have. I mean, I think that we would have had a slow walk of the indictments. But, you know, the issue here isn't about the color of the policeman. The issue is that the tactics, techniques, procedures, and training of these law enforcement officers on these special teams. You know, way back when, I went through a SWAT officer's course with Capitol Hill Police and some other police forces that were there to learn how to be SWAT cops. The techniques that we were shown back then were not always guns forward, guns all the time. Now the average police officer is trained to believe that he's, you know, number one job is to come home at night. I agree with that 1,000%. But there are jobs there, there are things there that are just clearly require an intervention that does not require you to draw your weapon.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't, I mean, that's certainly, everything you said is valid. All that is an issue. This seemed to be just 5 cops who wanted to wail on a guy for no apparent reason. If that kid had been white, would they have not done that?
No, they wouldn't have, period. We all know that.
So 5 black...
I mean, there is a color issue within law enforcement altogether.
Even among black cops?
Yeah, because they're cops.
Because they're cops.
This is a mindset. The same way we have in the military. We have a mindset.
Exactly. Policing has adopted this us versus them mentality that treats everyone as a potential threat. It's like they've forgotten that their job is to protect and serve, not patrol like they're in a war zone. And this isn't about race. This affects everyone. Turning police departments into quasi-military units isn't helping anyone except the companies selling them the gear.
Right? I think policing now has moved so far away from community service towards self-preservation. They go to courses like the On Killing program on how to do self-preservation, how to battle like a special forces soldier. What they need to do is they need to start thinking more along the old beat cop, protecting the community by knowing the community and not seeing. I don't understand it, right? I'm a big guns guy. Not every black man is the one who has the firearm, right? They assume this block is all armed. Maybe that's because some of them are. But I'm going to tell you, there is a large proportion of the white population in the United States who routinely carry guns openly, brazenly, have stickers on their cars, and cops just say, oh, these are the kind of guys that I go to range with. Good job. Kyle Rittenhouse, for example. Right? They threw him water that night. If I had been out on the street with a long rifle like that, they would have been throwing lead down there, freedom bullets at me, right?
Okay. For Paul, should Biden...
The Rittenhouse reference, classic, and it makes a valid point. If Kyle had looked different, would he have been treated the same way by law enforcement? Probably not, but this cuts both ways. Bias exists in every layer of policing, and it's not always about race. It's about perception, optics, and sadly, politics. And the more we sensationalize these moments, the harder it becomes to have honest conversations about real reform.
Should Biden do the annual pre-Super Bowl interview on Fox? Oh, yes, that's a tradition, and Biden has turned it down, or as has been done by other presidents. Yeah. Why do you think he declined that?
It raises the all-important question, who cares? I'm sorry, he has no obligation to get Fox. I just don't care. I guess I'm always inclined to communicate more, not less. I guess if I were advising him, I'd tell him to do it. But Fox is not entitled to the time of the President of the United States of America. I'm sorry, they're just another corporation trying to make a buck.
Kristen, what do you make of Ron DeSantis installing a conservative anti-woke board at the new College of Florida?
So he has made a big name for himself as being someone who is pushing back against what he views as an education system, both K-12 and higher ed, that's gone too far off. I don't know that the answer to liberal overreach in higher ed is conservative overreach in higher ed.
Right.
So I'm much more interested in, when I'm thinking about higher education in Florida, my home state, is I look at the University of Florida, where Ben Sasse was just installed as president. There were some protesters, but not as many on the day of his actual installment. And he has really said, I'm not coming at this with an ideological lens. He is certainly conservative himself, but can he take an institution and actually do interesting things with it that are not about owning the libs or about proving this is what a conservative school is like? This is something that frustrates me about the right, is every time they see something on the left that they think they've gone too far, we need to create a conservative version of it. Let's have conservative Wikipedia. Let's have conservative Twitter.
Right.
It's just silly. Why not just try to thrive in these institutions and do what you can to make them work for everyone from within?
Perfect sense. I love it.
Maher really went for it in this clip, calling out the hypocrisy and nonsense from all sides. But what do you guys think? Is he hitting the nail on the head, or do you see things differently? Let me know in the comments below. As always, this is a place for discussion. Be sure to give us a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next one.